Welcome to another video from KimDev Monster. Today I will introduce you into the base mid-game for 1.6. I was trying to get some builds online that I will explain you based on the builds we have in the early game, but in the end it's get a little bit more open when we talk about the possibilities you have with your iron that you get and the paths you could go on. The reason I'm making these videos is because you have so much possibilities that you can lose yourself in the mid game and crafting many different types of gear, weapons and stuff, and you're wasting resources because you don't know what you want to have. So this is a little help for you, so you can guide your way straight to the late game and have a good experience while doing it. A little bit of background information about the hunts. You want to reach a threshold of 5 strength per survivor, so you can hit the monsters more easily with your damage dealers, but it's totally viable to take someone with less strength during the hunt and make him like a support character that I will show you in the video, of course, too. So here are some examples of the monsters, and if you see, we are starting until the butcher to the very early late game to hunt the level 2 monsters, and you see 10 toughness, 10 toughness, and the first phoenix, of course, has 10 toughness too, and then transition to 12 for the antelope and 14 for the lion, and 12 to 15 to the kingsman, but he's a weak spot, so when you attack him from behind, you've had an easier life to hit him. You can afford this with survival of the fittest and some monster tooth necklace here and there, because many people don't remember that it's also give a general strength. You don't have to connect it with the 2 wet spots, so you get 2 strength, which is really huge. You can also get 1 without connecting it, and 1 through survival of the fittest. That makes 2. So a weapon with 3 strength would be fine for the level 1 monsters. For the level 2 monsters, I recommend to get combined with your survivor and the strength of the weapon to 7 strength, so you could roll a 5 and then round the monster pretty easy in 60% of the time. So let's get into the builds. I have here every settlement location, and the most use in the mid game we will make from leather worker, the locations we had before, and the weapon crafter, because it offers a lot of new weapons that we can look at, and we have some benefits for using them. So here's the first character. It's like the early game armor that we all have, the rawhide armor. It's pretty good at using survival, so in 50% of the time when using a survival action, you didn't have to use the survival, you get 1 back. So it's pretty good for encouraging people, for dashing around, for using extra items, rare inner faith, to have more options. Of course, Cat Eye Circlet, one of the best items in the game, lets you reveal the top 3 monster hit locations, and it's the best place on the gear grid with a rawhide armor and inner faith, so can use it most of the time for free and look through the whole hit location deck when you're fighting a monster time after time. My recommendation weapon wise for this build is a bow, because bows have the benefit that you can stand from far away, because the monster damage gets increased over time as you hunt harder monsters, and 2 armor on every hit location is quite less, so most attacks can punish you and have higher damage numbers, so you have to roll on the injury tables pretty fast. So my recommendation for early game is also get a scavenger kit as early as possible. It's a unique item, you can only have it once in a campaign, but when you defeat a monster, gain a basic resource or a monster resource from the resource deck, we can afford it via the Barber Surgeon and 1 scrap and perfect hide. So if you have this in mind, set a perfect hide aside if you could manage that, and then you can craft it as soon as you have a Barber Surgeon. Even the lanterns and the scrap isn't very much used until you get heat, which is after the butcher. So you could get scavenger kit right from the start when you're in lantern year 6 most of the time. The transition for this build for me is to go with the arc bow later. You can start with a catgut bow, but the arc bow is very superior. So we would have this outcome. You could put scavenger kit on a free spot on another character to use cat eye circlet, or you can keep it here and go more on the damage side. The pros for this is you get 11 strength, which is really, really good. And if we look on the specialization for bows, we get 1 reroll when we miss an attack, and we only have 1 dice to roll, so we have a much higher chance chipping 1 damage down the deck, and that's a pretty good, reasonable endgame build, because 11 damage is pretty safe, so you auto hit all of these monsters when you beat your first Phoenix and craft an arc bow. And I would recommend to put some bone pickaxes on your survivors, as many as you can. So you could have, if you have here a free slot, you can put the pickaxe there, have manual gathering, and try to squeeze some pickaxes on the other survivors too, because when we look at this event, manual gathering, every survivor with a pickaxe rolls on manual gathering. So it stacks, and your main goal for the mid game is to achieve as many iron as you could get, because all the late game stuff from the blacksmith needed some iron or leather or other stuff. So you have a pretty much amount to get the lantern armor, and also the Phoenix armor too, which is also a late game armor set in my opinion. So stack them on survivors as much as possible, but important, you have 1 cat eye circlet and a scavenger kit in your party. Here are some fighting arts I would use. So if I get a certain survivor with a certain fighting art, I would put him in this wall more easily, because it's very beneficial. Let's see. Thrill Seeker. Whenever you gain survival during the showdown, gain 1 additional survival. So you can go crazy with your white armor. If you get a survival back, you get 2 instead. So you can nearly infinite gain the benefits of using your actions for cat eye circlet and for attacking and dashing and using the headband, so the monster can be very good manipulated. Double dish is very good too, because you want to avoid every hit. That's your main goal with this character, especially in the late game. So double dash lets you spend your action as dash, so you can move 3 times in one turn if you have paint, and that's pretty good. Because you're using both with this character most of the time, you're much safer to shoot first and then use your other actions from Inner Faith and Dash to go away into safety. Strategist is really nice too, because you can get a top pillar before your survivor, so you're not even a threat, you're behind a pillar, and you can do your Warhide headband, your cat eye circlet, and don't mind to become the target, or you're standing in a stone face, getting more accuracy and range for the bow, and sniping from the top of a mountain down to a monster. Extra Sense lets you dodge an additional time, and that's really good when monsters have more speed than 2 or 3, so you're likely to get hit 1 or 3 times and you can dodge the most amount of it and get the survival back. Rhythm Chaser, it's a free evasion. You have also an evasion on the Warhide vest, and if you're using exactly this gear grid, you get 1 evasion from the monster geese too. So 30% of the monster not hitting you on top is really, really good. One of my favorites when using the Screaming set is to have a spear guy, and that's a pretty fixed build. You have nearly no spaces to get other gear choices in it, but it has its benefits. Because of this item, the blue charm. When you draw a trap card, roll 1d10 on a 6+, discard the trap and reshuffle it. Stacked with a spear specialization, you have 2 chances of getting rid of the trap. The blue charm is crafted at the barber surgeon as well, I think. Yes. You need a perfect organ so you can craft the blue charm. So setting this aside is also a good thing until you get your barber surgeon. Let's see, we have 1 blue affinity on the charm, 1 here, makes it 2, 3, 4, 5. We need a luck charm to get these 2 connectors, and you can put a cat eye circlet in here, which is the best in slot item for the space, or even a whiskers harp, which is a nice bonus. Everyone gets a survivor. You can discard moods. It's quite nice. And if you have a harp in the gear grid, you can think of putting Rhythm Chaser here too, so you always have an extra evasion with it. What makes it special? Spears are very good, so you want to dissolve traps. So if you see a trap is coming, you want to hit with your spear guy. First you have the King Spear. Later you will have a Finger of God in this build, and as you see, as long as you have 5 or more survival, you gain +1 accuracy, and it's also had a +1 accuracy. So if you're attacking from the blind spot, you get to a 4+ to a 3+ on hitting, so you can get the trap quite safe. The only fighting art I would recommend here is Combo Master, because you get more dice, so you're safer to get your trap when you want it with this perfect hit and additional roll. In other cases, you're pretty much open which you want to have. So if you get a survivor with a blue affinity, you can have 1 free slot. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th from the survivor. So you have a flex item. You can take pickaxe. It's quite good because, yeah, the more iron, the better. Or you can use other stuff in here. That's one of the best uses with the screaming armor set, or you use the club from the bone crafter and make your slams where you activate a weapon for free more powerful. And yes, ignore the word cumbersome as long you're slamming with this armor set. Then the third build is the white line armor. I said it in the video before on the early game. White line is pretty strong from the beginning. The earlier you get it, the better it is at rounding monsters. Let's see how it would make it into mid-game. We have our both Beast Knuckles, our full armor set, and 2 filler items. In this case, the Monster Tooth Necklace, because we want stack on our damage dealer as much strength as possible, and we need a Bone Dagger to have those connectors up. So we can make 3 red affinities and have 1 extra movement, which is a nice bonus. So we have 4 on the Beast Knuckles, 2 on the set, and when we pounce, we get 1 extra. That makes 7, 9 strength. When we get the survival of the fittest, we are hitting the 10 strength. So every successful attempt on hitting is an automatic wound if we are not rolling a 1. So this is quite tough till mid-game. We get extra -1 toughness token for each attack that successful rounds the monster. And we can further boost this with the perfect fighting arts for this mighty strike. You're rolling 5 dice in total with it, and on perfect hits getting 2 extra strength makes it one of the best damage dealers to go through the deck and have the other characters supporting and tanking the monster. It's very important that you get as fast as possible the kata specialization, because you want to cancel as many reactions as you can do, so you're not getting hit back that much. And that's the final and the most diverse part of this video, the leather set armor. Leather set is acquired when you get ammonia and crafted your leather worker. It's really cheap in my opinion. You only need to make it leather with endeavor. Sorry. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 resources that can become from monster decks, from basic resources. So it's very easy to craft, and it's very versatile because it has many affinities. As you see here, you get 4 armor on every spot. That's a good amount to carry it into mid game. And as you see, I picked a pickaxe here too and make a flex spot, and I made some weapon choices which you can use. Good here is that the monsters later in the game use bash more often, and you can ignore it. That means you are safe to stay free on the monster and ignore effects surrounding them and causing bash. My favorite weapon for this tank build would be the Zanbato, because it's very good at hitting and very good at making damage. You have a decently crit chance, and you get most out of the monster deck because you have devastating and making out of 1 round 2. That's really, really good. So you need to connect it like this, and you get 2 extra evasion cause of monster geese. Then we have some other choices. Counterweight X got a nerf in 1.6, so on a perfect hit you would make a round without drawing a hit location, limit once per attack. So with Inner Faith you can have this occur 2 times in 1 turn, but not more often. If you're the Destined tank, I would recommend using a shield for getting blocks, for getting extra armor on all locations, and you can use a club. Clubs are very good at fighting the antelope, so I put out all 3 of them. The strongest is the bone club, but you are very limited because of cumbersome. You have spent your movement per turn to use it again. With Whistling Mace, you're a little bit more versatile and can move around and attack at the same time, but you have the drawback of unwieldy. Safest hammer would be Skull Hammer. It's not hitting as good, it has a low strength, but on a perfect hit you daze the monster and it gets -1 speed until the end of its next round. Scrap, of course, Scrap Sword is also a good pick, because you could try to puzzle in more affinities, because you have much more flex spots like this here. Let's puzzle something around. So you could go more on the damage side, have 3 spots, and try to figure out one more red affinity to get the deadly and go on a crit build, or you put it as I have shown before and have a good weapon to hit quite decent and get extra strength on perfect hits. Therefore, I would recommend using Timeless Eye with some of the weapons I've shown, the counterweight axe, the hammer, the mace, and the sword. They all have perfect hit effects, so your Timeless Eye users would be a good suit in a leather armor. Tumble is really good too, because this armor is standing a lot near the monster. It's suited for melee damagers, and it can happen quite some time that the monster is going through you and collides, and so you have a chance to successful make a roll and then stand up again. The weapon choices for this are the axe, which is making to get more rounds on the monster, because you could try to use it again. Club when attacking, and with a perfect hit double your round attempt, so that's perfect with Timeless Eye. And the other effects of the perfect hits for maces. Grand Weapon gain +1 accuracy, so you're hitting much safer, and when you make a crit you knock the monster down. Very good effect on a tank. And Sword, you could choose the hit location first and could filter some reactions out of the deck before your high damage dealers like Kata users, or like your chip damage dealers like the Bowmaster try to make the attempt. And the last fighting art I want to talk about is Berserker. Once per showdown you may spend an action, suffer bash, and gain the frenzy brain trauma. It's very, very good because you can ignore the bash effect first, and you could pull this off with Inner Faith, so you get your bonus action, pull Berserker, and then make a regular attack with your regular action. And it's very good with the Sambato, because you can ignore the slow word, so you get 2 dice, more strength, and it's a really, really high damage build then when you have a Sambato leather armor Berserker. But it's fine on counterweight X2, because more dice are more opportunities to get a perfect hit. That counts for Skullhammer too. Whistling Mace would be a much more drawback because it has unwieldy, but 1 damage isn't too much, and the perfect hit is also pretty good. So that was the video. I hope it was helpful for you. Leave some comments there, take a thumb up, and yeah, enjoyed the talk. See you later. Kim Dev Monster. Ciao.